Let's talk about Ben Solo. A lot of you already know my feelings on this character's overall trajectory in this saga. We are getting redemption. But joking aside, if you watched part 1 of The Rise of Ben, then you know I think Kylo Ren will die and Ben Solo will rise. I firmly believe he is going to accept the light. But recently, something also caught my eye, and perhaps this is an egregious overthinking YouTuber moment. But here's what it is. In the final few scenes of The Last Jedi, it dawned on me that if we are to take what we see as linear movements through time and not things occurring simultaneously, then we have a bit of a mystery on our hands concerning Han's dice, as well as a foreshadow, at least in my head, into the rise of Skywalker. I believe this all is sort of a setup or something JJ will expand on for how Luke is going to be giving Kylo Ren little pushes towards reconciliation with his past, giving him visions maybe. And these are going to be things that Kylo Ren absolutely needs if redemption is to happen. So let's recap the sequence of events at the end of The Last Jedi. Luke disappears before Kylo Ren. Kylo Ren screams in frustration. Luke opens his eyes and falls upon the meditation rock. He stares at the sun. Rey and Leia sense something through the Force, and that is Luke. He is now sitting at the meditation rock, still staring at the sunset. We see Rey again, sensing Luke, and then finally, Luke ends up becoming one with the Force, which is sort of by choice, and mostly because of the Force technique he just used. After this, the rebel base is infiltrated by the First Order, now led by Kylo Ren, and Kylo goes into the room where the Resistance was hiding, only to find his father's dice still there on the ground. Then he has another Force bond with Rey, and then we cut back to Kylo, and the dice disappear from his hands. So why would these dice still be there? Well, here is a tiny story that will make you extremely sad. When Ben Solo was a very young boy, he would follow his dad around with the dice in his hands, and he hoped that one day he would be a great pilot, just like his father. The sad thing is, he actually did get exactly what he wanted, just not how he thought it would happen. The important piece here, though, is that these dice have tremendous sentimental value to Kylo Ren. You can see it in his face here. Sentiment is the one thing that Snoke despises. It's the thing he warned Kylo Ren against. It was the downfall of Vader. But here we are, 2 films into a trilogy, and we have one scene where Kylo kills his own father and then instantly regrets it. And that's followed up by him clutching the dice of his father, the person he wanted to emulate as a child, a hero of the rebellion. I don't think we were given this bit of insight from the book for nothing. And even if you didn't read the novelization, it's crystal clear that Ben Solo has been breaking through. Even Snoke knows it. I think Luke maintained that projection just long enough for Kylo to see the dice and contemplate it. Luke knows what those dice used to mean to Ben. And in wake of him being devastated over how he feels after killing his own father, being completely unbalanced, how do you think Kylo will react to seeing the dice? Plus, just before this, the final words Luke spoke to Kylo were "see you around, kid," something his father used to say. Side note, this is also why I think that deleted scene of Kylo Ren on the Falcon should have remained in the final cut of The Force Awakens. The insert of Kylo sensing Han with just a turn of his head was kind of weak compared to him going into the Falcon with this vibe of melancholy. For a guy in a mask covered in black with a robot voice, he looked and sounded sad. And I thought it was perfect. Although Luke did say he was not on Crate to save Ben's soul, Luke also reminds his sister that no one is ever really gone when discussing her son. If I had to make some bold assumptions, I'd say Luke pulled a Yoda here. He's not literally there to save Ben's soul because Ben needs to save himself. Luke knows that redemption can't happen from just talking it out. It's an inner experience, sometimes instantaneous. And oddly enough, something that Luke is currently doing in this film. He's redeeming himself. The point is, I think Luke has found a way to do what he could never do while living. Influence Ben, his fallen Jedi Padawan, in a way that forces him to literally confront his past, his demons, whatever. If you follow MakingStarWars.net, a few very interesting things have been talked about in regards to Kylo Ren. And to be frank, a lot of it sounds really amazing to me, and very legitimate. So take whatever I have to say here however you want, but I find it really interesting how neatly these rumors tie into how I think Luke's role will play out and what really makes Kylo get on the path to redemption. Basically, just like at the end of The Last Jedi with the projected dice, Luke, now a Force ghost, will be causing Kylo to have visions or see things. One idea is that he will be faced with his father at some point, an apparition created by Luke. And if this truly is the case, it's a great expansion on Luke telling Kylo, "See you around, kid." It also expands Force ghosts in a way never imagined. Ben's father being the leading factor for his redemption has always seemed highly likely ever since I saw The Force Awakens. They wouldn't have shown this if they didn't want us to feel a sense of conflict in ourselves about what we just saw. But either way, it's undeniable what's happening before our eyes. It's tearing him apart. Nothing has gone down the way this guy wanted it to. All three trilogies have the concept of fatherhood interwoven into the fabric of the story. The prequels have a man who never had a father becoming one, and then realizing in a vision that a tragic event will occur if he has children, the death of his wife. The original trilogy has Luke aspiring to be like his father, a fallen Jedi Knight, only to find out his father actually is still alive, but has become an agent of evil. And finally, this agent of evil sacrifices himself for the life of his son, and because of this, the father and son finally reconnected, and the father get redemption. Now, we have something a little closer to home, in my opinion, the dysfunctional family. We already start out with everyone separated. Leia and Han are split. Ben is against everything his family believes in and fights for. You've heard all of this before, but it's important to think about. Star Wars always reflects the current culture, and sadly, this whole dysfunctional family thing, at least in my point of view, is a real prevalent issue in our culture. People always say the cliche that Star Wars rhymes, and considering this, would it not make sense for the antagonist in this third act to have a vision that is essentially the inverse of Anakin's nightmare? Rather than death, Kylo Ren sees a new life, a possibility for a future that isn't one of pain. I think it's more than likely this is going to happen for our man Ben. I'd also say that this is why the sequel trilogy has been really heavy on these unique displays of the Force so far. It shows us people exchanging matter through the Force across the galaxy by accident. People are touching through space and time, and then people are astral projecting their likeness in the form last remembered by the people seeing it. I think the Force has gotten even more mysterious to the point that I completely buy Luke being able to orchestrate events around Kylo Ren that push him directly into the path of the light. On a final note, I do think one of these possible visions Kylo Ren will have will be a future where he and Rey are in harmony with the Force and potentially leading a new order of Force users, maybe Skywalkers. These two are deeply connected, no doubt, nobody can deny it. Even JJ himself has said that Kylo will need to contend with his feelings for Rey. I might be expecting too much here, and I understand these movies could go any possible direction, but I think it would be brilliant if Kylo does see a vision of the future of him being a father to a younger man like himself, and behind that young man would be Rey. I definitely think it would be jarring to a lot of people, and I think also that would be all that we get of this scene. The movie would never actually go into this future, into this possible life. On the contrary, it would be the galvanizing factor that we see on screen, propelling Kylo back into the light. It would end with Kylo Ren now being Ben Solo, knowing about this possible future, and the reason why he had helped the Resistance and Rey in the end. This is the atatchat signing off.